Hello to all my dear followers, and welcome back to Secrets Behind the Stars. Settle in, because today's reveal has the entire entertainment world buzzing and our comments section on fire. Before we dive into every intimate detail, make sure you're subscribed and have liked this video so you don't miss a single update. Now, let's talk about the confession that paused the internet. In the middle of a radiant countdown to motherhood, Elçin's Sangu made a statement that no one was prepared to hear. Calm, sincere, and glowing with that unmistakable pre-baby serenity, she answered a question about who would be with her when she gives birth. She didn't hesitate. She didn't dodge. Her words landed like a soft thunderclap. The only person by her side in the delivery room will be Baris Arduç. Just like that, social media lit up. Fans who had long admired their bond, their harmony on set, and the warmth they share off-camera rushed to analyze every frame of past photos, every old interview, every look exchanged between them. And for those who didn't know, it became quickly clear, we weren't talking about a vague friend or a distant colleague. We were talking about Baris Arduç, the leading man who once stood opposite Elçin in a series that defined a chapter of Turkish television and gave millions a reason to fall in love with their chemistry. For years, Elçin has protected her private life like a priceless keepsake. She shares enough to make fans feel close but keeps the corners of her heart as her own. During her pregnancy, that quiet boundary became even more visible. She appeared at selective events, chose her words carefully, and radiated a tranquil, gentle strength. So when the question of childbirth plans came up at a recent gathering, few expected her to open a door that had always been closed. But she did. And the room held its breath. She said the moment was too delicate to leave to chance. She wanted someone she could trust without question, someone whose presence steadied her heartbeat and quieted that private storm of nerves. She said Baris had walked alongside her through this entire journey. That he was her greatest support. That somewhere along the way, he felt less like a colleague and more like family. Those words sent a ripple through the industry. In hours, it wasn't a ripple anymore, it was a wave. Clips of their old scenes together resurfaced. Candid moments from set, captured between takes, were reposted again and again. Laughter that once seemed like routine camaraderie now looked profound. The way his eyes warmed when she spoke, the way she leaned toward him when they shared a joke, people were noticing details they'd never paid attention to before. Of course, it didn't take long for everyone to ask the next question: what would Baris say? Would he echo her sentiment or retreat into silence? After Elçin's heartfelt confession, the spotlight swung in his direction, and a familiar suspense took over the timeline. He did not release an official statement. He didn't post anything that could be read as a direct answer. But close sources, the kind who've quietly observed the rhythms of their lives, said something that made everything feel even more real. They said Baris had been there in concrete, tangible ways. Not just calls and texts, but appointments and late-night check-ins. He was the person waiting outside routine visits, the steady voice in her ear during anxious evenings, the calm in the middle of hormonal storms and too early morning scans. The support felt less like a favor, more like a promise taken seriously. The reaction from the public became a kaleidoscope of emotion. Many praised Elçin's bravery and the sincerity that has always made her feel relatable. They saw in her words a portrait of mature love, or at least a friendship so deep it blurs every old-fashioned line. Others, predictably, turned to speculation and theory crafting. Was this more than devotion between friends? Was there a story blooming quietly behind closed doors? Or was this simply what it looks like when two people who have seen each other at their best and their most vulnerable decide to stand together during a life-changing moment? In a follow-up interview, Elçin deepened the picture without turning it into a spectacle. She spoke softly about arriving at the threshold of the most important chapter of her life. She explained that calm is not something you stumble upon, it's something you build, carefully, with people you trust. She said Baris had offered that calm from the start, no theatrics, no grandstanding, just presence. She added that her family understood and supported the decision, recognizing the peace it brought her. Her words didn't inflame rumors, they refined them. She didn't declare a fairy tale. She didn't deny anything either. She simply placed value on loyalty and on the rare miracle of feeling completely understood. And that, if anything, made the story even more powerful. As the hours turned into days, the internet became a living archive of their shared history. Photos from premieres, awards ceremonies, behind-the-scenes selfies, blurred clips shot by fans in the corners of crowded events, all of it was pulled into the narrative. The laughter on a red carpet where he reached to steady her dress before she stumbled. The candid moment in a corridor where she collapsed into giggles after a long shoot and he covered his face in mock exasperation. The way they synced their steps when they didn't notice anyone was watching. The world started seeing it all anew, as if some lens had shifted and sharpened. Make no mistake, this isn't a fairy tale someone wrote for them. This is the kind of closeness you earn by being present for the unglamorous parts. It's easy to smile on stage. It's harder to answer a midnight call, to bring soup after a difficult day, to sit in a waiting room without making it about you. And that is what people said, those who were there long enough to see past the flash. Baris didn't offer commentary, he offered consistency. Critics will say that fans always project romance onto pairs they once adored on screen. But anyone who watched them build a language of support over the years could feel the difference. Their story was never loud. It was never desperate for attention. It was something else, a sheltered current beneath the surface, strong enough to move stones. All the while, Elçin kept her calm. She chose her interviews with care, her words with even more care. She never tried to control the narrative, she only tried to protect the quiet space where her heart could breathe. You could hear it in her tone, this wasn't a strategy, it was a boundary. The most precious moments don't require applause. They require trust. And yet, because of who they are, the questions won't stop. Will Baris be nothing more than emotional ballast in the delivery room, or is this the origin of a chapter that stretches far beyond that day? Will they step into the light and call it what it might be, or keep letting it speak through actions that don't need captions? Here is what we know, their past together is not manufactured. They met as peers, discovered a rhythm, and held on to it when the cameras turned off. The word chemistry gets overused, but it applies to them because it was never only performance. It looked like an understanding that refused to disappear with the end of a scene. Those who are close, who learned early how to say nothing and keep faith with a confidence entrusted to them, described small acts that say more than any statement could. A quiet drive after a long day when silence meant safety. A hand offered before it was asked for. A rehearsal that became less about getting lines right and more about making sure the other felt seen. Through it all, they never invited the world into the most delicate rooms. They gave us smiles and memories and scenes we replayed endlessly, but the deeper story remained their own. Now, at the brink of parenthood, with the future arriving like a sunrise you can't hold back, Elçin chose to let one truth slip into the public space. When the room narrows and the air turns thin and the world blurs to a single, breathtaking instant, she wants Baris there. Not because the world needs a headline. Because she needs a hand that has already learned the weight of hers. What happens next? Maybe everything, maybe nothing at all, at least not in the way we expect. Sometimes love declares itself with fireworks. Sometimes it is quieter, like a harbor light that never goes out, guiding you home without spectacle. Sometimes it looks like a friend who didn't abandon ship when the waters shifted. Sometimes it looks like a man in a hospital corridor taking a breath, straightening his shoulders, and walking into a room not as a star but as a person who matters. The choice to reveal this wasn't trivial. It was courage disguised as simplicity. Elçin didn't owe anyone the truth, yet she offered a piece of it anyway. And with that, she reminded millions that the most honest kinds of affection often unfold away from the noise. You don't always need a declaration to know what is real. Sometimes you need only to notice who keeps showing up. And so we wait for his answer, though maybe he's already given it in the only language that counts, presence. Will he eventually put it into words? Perhaps. Or perhaps the story will keep being told by the things he does, the gentle nods in rooms bright with fluorescent light, the unhurried patience in long corridors, the steady attention when the world is spinning too fast. Whatever happens, the mystery hovering between them has never felt like a game. It feels like respect. It feels like care. Fans are on alert, eyes wide open, hearts ready for the next small sign. Some root for a grand reveal, a moment that stitches their timelines into one seamless thread. Others hope their privacy remains intact, believing that the tenderness we glimpse is beautiful precisely because it is protected. Yet both sides agree on one thing: we are witnessing a bond that has endured time and attention and the restless curiosity of an entire nation. When you think back to their earliest interviews, you can hear the echoes of this moment. They joked easily, but even in the laughter there was a clarity about how they move through the world. Keep the important things quiet, they seem to say without saying it. Cherish what cannot be reproduced. And now, as we near the day that will change everything, we see how that philosophy looks in action. It looks like trust given freely and earned daily. So here we are, a community gathered around a story that might be love, might be friendship, might be both at once. We're not owed the label. We've been given something better, proof that what matters in the most fragile hours is not spectacle, but steadfastness. If a title must be written at all, perhaps it's this: two people choosing each other when it counts. Whatever words come from Baris next, whether a statement or a silence that speaks, the world has already been moved by what stands between them. Because when a woman on the edge of the most profound threshold declares the one name she trusts to anchor her, that is not gossip, that is grace. And when the man in question keeps his compass pointed toward her well-being instead of headlines, that is not a script, that is character. We have reached the quiet before the turning of a page. Cameras are charged. Fans are ready. But the truest moments are often the ones that happen after the doors close and the world waits outside. When they open again, everything will be different, and yet the essence will remain the same. The person she chose to stand beside her was the person who had already been there, step by step, heartbeat by heartbeat. And that, dear viewers, is today's story, a confession that began as a whisper and rolled across an entire industry. Thank you for being here with Secrets Behind the Stars, for listening with open hearts and sharp eyes. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next chapter in this unfolding tale. Until we meet again, take care of yourselves, and keep your gaze steady on the places where truth glows softly, just out of the spotlight.